Hello everyone, I am Jackie. I'm from Barbuda. Let me tell you about what's coming for you. Back in 2017, Barbuda experienced the worst hurricane in history. There had been one in 1995 called Hurricane Lewis, Category 5. The one that came to Barbuda, Irma, was 5++. And we are a tiny island, 62 square miles, and it was all night. I still have a fear of the winds now, but it was an experience you won't forget. But out of that came the Discovery Land Company on PLH. Now, we thought Irma was the worst thing to happen. It wasn't. Discovery Land Company and PLH were far worse. They came to us. Now, I'll tell you some of the things quickly that we've experienced since then. And we've always had to fight for our land in Barbuda, because as a Barbudan, I can ask for 3 pieces of land and I don't have to pay for any of them. We have a communal land system. You're entitled to a piece to build your house on. You're entitled to a larger piece if you're going to do agriculture, and you're entitled to a large piece if you're going to do something commercial. So we don't pay for our land. Because the salaries we have are not great, it does take a longer time to build a house. It might take 5-10 years. But what you do is you work, you save foundation, you work, you save some more, the walls go up to ravine, you save some more, the roof goes on, a bit more, the windows and doors go. So we take our time. But the houses, for the most part, are sound, because in Irma, most of the roofs that came off, the structures themselves, the majority were sound. So when the first thing that happened to us, we were taken off the island, almost everybody, whether you wanted to go or not, at one point, if necessary. And we were held. They said we were giving us somewhere to live, but we were held in Antigua. We weren't allowed to come back for 30 days. We had to stay where we were. Whilst we were away, Discovery Land Company and PLH, Peaceful and Happiness, moved in. And just as a point of interest, one of the top people in these 2 organisations, they have their address at Aspen here in Colorado, and I was trying to find out if anybody knew how I could get in touch with him. His name is J.B. Turkley, and his company's address here in Aspen, but he has a lot to do with what's going on in Barbuda. The first thing was, when we got back, there was work going on to create an airport for jets, private jets, and they worked at night, so we was pitch black, we had no electricity. Opening your front door, in the distance you could see a glow, because they were working at night to create this private airport. It wasn't even supposed to be an airport, it was supposed to be an HBO. We had our own little airport, but a plane that carried 9 people, that's enough, because we also had a ferry. What they've done since then is forced us to close the little airport and use their big airport, and we believe it's because they couldn't get certification for the airport that they built. The certification remained at our little airport, but the jets come in continually now, and there's noise all at the time. There was noise when they were building whatever they're building. They have created 2 high-end gated communities. The first one is in a place called Cooker Point, and when they first came, people thought, yes, we're going to get jobs, people get paid. And in the beginning, that is what happened. Lots of people got employment, say 300 to 400 people. Do you know how many are left working with them now? 89. Because they brought in workers from overseas. They brought in workers from Mexico. They brought in workers from Puerto Rico. There's hardly any locals working for them now. And they work for them, yes, and the salaries are more than they get from the other employers on the island. but there have been times when the workers just didn't get paid because they didn't have any PLH and somebody else didn't have any money. So there are money issues within the organisation itself, and it seems like the way they work is they will encourage you to give them your money to build your house, and that money is used to pay the workers. They don't seem to have lots of money in their own. It's like a Ponzi scheme. That's what it reminds me of when they're doing the work. So the workforce, it sounds good at the beginning. Another thing that was shocking when we came back, Barbudans are hunters, fishermen, campers. They live an outside life a lot of the time. When we came back and we were creating the airport, we came back to 10-foot fences. The guys who'd been able to go and catch or find food to compensate the low salary or whatever, or to feed their family, they couldn't go where they used to go and hunt for what they used to hunt, because on the island there's also a big lagoon, so fish and lobsters just everyday food. It's a snack because it's there in the lagoon. The lagoon's our pantry and the woods are our pantry too. Because Barbudans don't earn lots of money. That's why it takes so long to build a house. So the places that you could go to previously to hunt or just camp. They love to go and camp at the weekend, Easter weekend coming up. Lots of people going out to the village with the trucks, ice boxes full of beer, rum, whatever, and they just hang out with family and friends. But the fencing, it's hampered them going out, and they couldn't go and be where they always were. So that it's changing our lifestyle, and it's changing our culture, and there's not a lot of positive things that come back to the people. But it seems like they've come and they've taken and we've left us with very little. And Barbuda's got beautiful beaches. It's paired with Antigua. Antigua says they've got 365 beaches, one for every day of the year. Barbuda is all beach, all the way around. And what they're actually doing now, and the beaches are, by law, open to the public area. But what's happening now is there are lots of people who are impeding your access to the beach deliberately. So there's a beach road to a section of the island called Palmetto. You can walk down it, take your car down, ride your bike, and go and swim down there. And there's some really good ways, because the surfers go there too, but you don't tell anyone because they're a really good surfing spot. The last time a close friend who was an activist with me went down was 5 years ago, and there was a fence blocking the road. Before that, I'd been down in a vehicle. He walked. I took a vehicle last time, and we got this far with the vehicle, and we had to crawl through bushes and fence to the back wall to get to the beach. Now, it's not normally like that. And previously, when I've been on the beach, I ended up in court. We called Palmetto 22 because they took us to court, and we had to keep going to court just trying to access, because we tried to access our own beach. They sent the police, certain people taken away straight away, the rest of us were summoned on the street, they found us, and we had to go to court. And it took an organisation called Global Legal Action Network, who we have found very good in helping us to fight DCL and PLH, so it might be somebody that you can refer to, but they were very helpful with us in terms of winning cases, and we helped us to win our case, but it took 2 years for us not to have to go to court. So DCL and PLH use intimidation, they use offering you money, they use promising you things that you're going to think, oh, that sounds great, but they don't arrive the things that they say they're going to give you, don't come. And you're going to have to fight, actively fight for what's yours if you want to keep it. And you want to keep it not just for yourselves. Think about your youngsters coming up. if you've got family and they can't afford to live here, they're going to have to move away, aren't they? And that's already happened in certain places in England, in Wales in particular. If you want your family to stay here and you want to stay here, you are going to have to fight. And sometimes the fighting can be as simple as signing a petition. One of the things that we found most effective is there was a petition against a development that was to happen in Barbuda, because another reason Barbuda is special, it's because it has a wildlife population of, we call them frigate birds, or people might know them as man of war, and it's one of the biggest populations, not just in the region, but in that hemisphere. And there was a gentleman called John Portatorian. He wanted to have a home on an already designated no-build zone. He wanted his home to be built there, and he wanted a buffer zone that would mean that the fishermen could go on the lagoon and fish as easy as they had done before. But he had to put his application through the planning department. So we found a way to get lots of people to go onto that site and express their feelings. Most people were negative. He didn't get to do what he wanted. But a couple of years later, very quietly, he resubmitted the application. And he did it so quietly, we weren't ready. It's almost as though it's going through. So you have to be vigilant. It can be one or two of you, but you have to be vigilant. You have to go through the different websites on a regular basis to scour for what they plan to do, because they don't announce everything. Quite often, I went away for Christmas because, I'm English, I have an English accent. I left Barbuda as a baby and I went back. And when I went back, there was another road, there was a new road. And where's that from? And this time it wasn't DCL, it was Robert De Niro. He's got land down there in Howard as well, and he's creating a road. The public road he's closing, and he's saying, you all must ride on this road now because I'm having your public roads like that here. So you have to be vigilant. And it is weary, and it is tiring, because this fight, all right, it's DCL this now, but in the past it was somebody else, and before that it was somebody else. I'm in my 60s, and I remember this fight from being a little girl. They've always had to fight somebody for the land. If you've got something, especially land that other people want, they're always going to fight you for it. So you have to be ready for that. And you have to look in the dark corners to find out what they're really doing or what they're really up to. And it's true, they don't do it by themselves. Sometimes people that are within your community are going to assist them, and they'll be blinded by the money or the status that might come with helping them. But at the end of the day, these people are only for themselves. They're not for you. Because if they were for you, they would come and ask you at the beginning, we want to come here and do this. What do you think? How can we help you? That's what they would have done. They wouldn't have just come and imposed and got people to be on side with them. But so now you have to be right there and say, look, we're not coming here. This is ours. We want it. And we found that we try and infiltrate. So when I left to come away here on the 5 trains, there was a film night that they set up, and he's targeting the youngsters. Now, sometimes targeting is good because the youngsters need direction, but there's always an ulterior motive behind it. They're not just doing it because youngsters need it, it's a good thing to do. It's how can we get the youngsters on side moving forward? How can we get them to be part of our DCL in Barbuda? Because there's not just DCL, they have what they call Barbuda Ocean Club, that part of PLH. And PLH has got so many names, organisations within that organisation, and you have to keep track of that as well. Shell companies, I think they call them. You have to keep track of those things as well. And they're very, very smart, and they're very, very determined. But so are we. So our determination led us to win a case recently with a plan. I think it was 2023. the airport that they built, they did not follow the regulations. They did not follow the rules. Initially, we got an injunction to get them to stop. Myself and a colleague called Mr. John Assistant, we got them to stop. They had that overturned, so we took them to court. 6 years. 6 years later, we won. And that's on from the EIA. You need to make sure you get that EIA way before that. It was held back from us deliberately. So that's how determined and underhand they can be. But you have to be persistent. And then teach your kids to be persistent too. Because it's their inheritance that's going to be interfered with in terms of what you have. Because I've seen it, it's really pretty. It reminds me of Barbuda that there's lots of green and different shades of green. And the impression I got when we listen to people speak, because it's green and you're not doing anything with it, you don't want it. They think you don't value it. They think that they'll come along and put a price on it and that make you happy. They say, oh, that part's mine, I've got this much money. Money isn't everything. Money can be everything. So, just before I go, I'll tell you, there's a place, they have places for their workers. They make them live on site at one end of the island and the other. I've seen a picture of one end of the island where they live, and you know how they make prison blocks in the shape of an H? That's what they put down for the workers they've imported to work there. But that particular area is prone to flooding because of all the vegetation they removed that was there previously. It was a Ramsar site, a site of special importance, protected, but that didn't stop them pulling it all up. So now, when it rains, because they built the airport and put it in tarmac, instead of the water going down into the caves that are there, they run water down into the village and down onto their work site. So they flooded their work site and they flooded their golf course because they created the golf course and the golf course goes right up to the sea. Whatever they put on the golf course goes round and gets into the lagoon. There's all this algal growth now, and the fishermen and the tour guides were getting their boat engines damaged, and so they had to take a couple of days and get in the water and remove all the algae so they could start to catch fish and take the tours out again. And then also the golf course itself is falling into the sea because they didn't abide by the environmental rules that they should have done. And I mean, so it's washed away the beach, they put the geo bags in, by the giant sandbags, they're no good. They don't let the sand settle like it normally does. So the golf course is literally falling into the sea. Those sorts of, they want to do things quickly to make money as quickly as possible. And I believe they have perhaps like a 10-year window and they have to get everything done. Because I'm not good on the internet, but I Google, so I just typed in Discovery Land Company projects, and it came up with a Google page called Notes from the Road. I think he's still there, named Eric something. He was in Barbuda, and that was the first model of how they're going to work. This is Discovery Land Company on how PLH. And he's in Barbuda, he knows about what's happened to them. It's exactly the same as happened in Barbuda, and probably similar to what's going to happen to you. They seem to have a playbook or a set of steps that they take. But he spoke to one of the managers for the company, and the manager said they give themselves 10 years. If they do it in under 10 years, they make a shed load of money. If they do it around 10 years, they break even. If it takes longer, they lose money. So if you can slow them down, and they're going to be less likely to want to interview with you because they're not going to make such mistakes at all. So social media is your friend. They hate bad publicity. They absolutely hate bad publicity. We, as one group of us, went along our beach, public beaches, despite them putting signs that say private property, keep on. we went beyond the private property. We had our icebox, we had music, we had food, and we had drinks. The manager came out and was talking to the group that belongs to our Mr. John Washington about why you shouldn't be there. He corrected them with the law, he used the law, and in the end, they realised we weren't going anywhere, so they brought us drinks and cold towels. They saw they were in the wrong, we didn't want the breakfast. So social media and fear impact was a publicity of your friend. Not to be dishonest, but and read everything they put out. And if they're not putting it out, ask for it. Because documents are supposed to share, you should make them share. And it's an endless, tiring time. But in the end, when we won the case, it was worth it.